The cold dawn of November 12, 1942, broke over the Richmond shipyards in California. Fog clung to the water's edge, and the rhythmic clang of hammers echoed across the slips like distant artillery. Workers in overalls, many of them women with welding torches in hand, moved with practiced urgency. High above, a crane lowered the final prefabricated section onto the hull of the SS Robert E. Peary. In just 4 days, 15 hours and 30 minutes since the keel had been laid, the ship stood ready for launch, another Liberty ship born overnight from American steel and sweat. This moment was no isolated feat. It crystallized a staggering industrial reality that would reshape the war. By late 1942, the United States had entered the conflict fully, and the Battle of the Atlantic raged with merciless intensity. German U-boats prowled the sea lanes, sinking merchant vessels at a terrifying pace in the early months. Yet the Allies required an unrelenting flow of supplies, tanks, aircraft, food, ammunition, to sustain Britain and prepare for the invasion of Europe. The Liberty ship program, born of British design but scaled to American ambition under the Emergency Shipbuilding Program, became the answer. 18 shipyards from Maine to California produced 2,710 of these vessels between 1941 and 1945, an average of 3 ships every 2 days at peak. Early construction times averaged over 200 days per hull. By 1943, the median had fallen to 39 or 42 days, with some yards achieving far less. The SS Robert E. Peary's record stood as a symbol of what prefabrication, welding instead of riveting, and assembly line methods could accomplish. In Berlin and at U-boat headquarters in France, German naval intelligence tracked these developments with growing unease. Admiral Karl Donitz, commander of the submarine force, had wagered on tonnage war, sink enough merchant shipping to starve Britain into submission. His crews achieved remarkable early successes, but reports from agents and intercepted communications began to reveal an impossible truth. American shipyards were not merely replacing losses, they were outpacing them. By September 1942, Liberty ship production had already exceeded sinkings in some months. Donitz himself would later reflect on the mathematical certainty of defeat. No matter how many ships his U-boats claimed, the arsenal of democracy replenished the fleet faster than they could destroy it. German estimates had underestimated American capacity by orders of magnitude. What they envisioned as a vulnerable industrial giant proved an unstoppable force. High command, fixated on qualitative superiority in U-boat design and tactics, had failed to grasp the sheer volume that democratic mobilization could unleash. The German high command had expected a prolonged war of attrition, one where superior strategy and engineering would prevail over raw output. They anticipated American industry, geared toward consumer goods, hampered by isolationist sentiment, to falter under wartime strain. Instead, they confronted a nation that converted automobile plants, recruited untrained workers by the hundreds of thousands, and applied Fordist principles to ocean-going hulls. Women riveters and welders, symbolized by Rosie the Riveter, filled the yards while men fought overseas. This was not the decadent plutocracy of propaganda. It was a society capable of redirecting its vast resources overnight. The contrast shattered illusions. Where German shipbuilding labored under material shortages, forced labor, and bombing, American yards operated in safety with abundant steel, electricity, and manpower. The Liberty ships, often derided as ugly ducklings, carried the weight of that difference. Plain, slow, but produced in such numbers that they overwhelmed the calculus of war. A recurring emblem threaded through this transformation, the welding torch. Its bright arc represented more than a technical innovation. It stood for American abundance and ingenuity. Each weld fused prefabricated sections fabricated hundreds of miles away, allowing unskilled hands to build what once required master craftsmen. The torch's flame illuminated the night shifts, a steady glow against the darkness of war. It symbolized democracy's quiet power, not the flash of a panzer or the precision of a Stuka, but the relentless collective effort of free people turning raw potential into unbreakable supply lines. Every completed hull bore thousands of those welds, each one a small testament to industrial freedom that no authoritarian regime could replicate at scale. In the end, the Liberty ships did not win the war alone, but they made victory inevitable. They bridged the Atlantic with food for the hungry, steel for the armies, and hope for the besieged. The German generals and admirals, poring over loss reports that never diminished fast enough, came to understand what they could not outfight: a system where liberty fueled production, and production secured liberty. In that realization lay a profound truth. The strength of a free society lies not in its weapons alone, but in its capacity to create, to adapt, and to endure beyond the reach of tyranny's grasp. The welding torch dimmed with peace, but its light endures in the memory of how abundance, born of freedom, turned the tide of history.